Morning, market chameleons. Thanks for joining us on Friday for the pre-market show. How are you doing, Dima?
Good morning, Will. Good morning, everyone. Exciting Friday.
Yeah,
Got
TGIF, buddy. TGIF,
Yep.
last day of the trading week. All right, everyone. If you're new to our morning show, put all your questions in the chat. Remember to like us, and if you haven't never subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's a big deal. You get alerted to everything that is new and exciting coming out from the Chameleon as far as videos. Do you want to get started with the disclaimer, D?
Yep. So before we get started, everyone, keep in mind, Will and I, Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not broker dealers. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional help, call your broker. They should be able to help answer your questions and provide you with guidance. That's what they're there for. There's the disclaimer, everyone.
Excellent.
And with
What are you
that,
seeing this morning?
okay, let me share my screen real quick. I was thinking today we'll go over as usual, see what's going on in the pre-market hours. I think also we're going to touch on a screener that's not quite, I'm still testing it out, but I'm going to share it today looking for insider trades. Another screener we haven't talked about before was repeat orders. So we're going to take a look at options and repeat orders and also take a look at what's coming up in the earnings front. So hopefully we get all that in today. If you have questions as we go along, let me know. We'll stop and try to answer any questions in the chat. So if you're joining us for the first time, this is the pre-market report. It's showing stocks that are trading in the pre-market hours before the market opens. We have the most active, the biggest percentage gainers, and the biggest percentage decliners. Before we get to the top of the list, let's just take a look at what's going on in the higher market cap stocks, see what's moving there. I'm going to use this filter up top, market cap, looking for stocks with a market cap of over $20 billion. So that's what this filter is doing now. So we see here, this is the biggest percentage gainers. We have about 19 of them that made the list. Biggest percentage decliners, we got 5 of those that made the list. So at least from this perspective, a little bit more positive than negative on the market breadth outlook. We have here BCS, I believe that's Barclays. Is that correct? Yep, that's up 7.5%. This one is COF, I think that's Capital One Financial. They reported earnings yesterday, up 5%. HSBC, I see so a couple of the bank stocks up there, financial stocks doing pretty well today. I see also on the other side of this, Intel down 10%. They must have reported so they reported earnings yesterday after the market closed. They look weaker today. Then we got American Express. I think they've reported earnings as well. They look weaker, down 3%. Intel down 10.4%. So that's a really quick look at what's going on in the higher market cap stocks. I'm going to go really quickly to the unfiltered report to see what pops up on top. And then I wanted to get to the other screeners so we have some time. If you have questions, let me know, Will, but I'm going to try to speed through this one today.
Yeah, well, there's a quick question from Leonard, and I know we get emails from Leonard, and he participates in the forum as well. He's just asking, show him where the piece is where he can go to the industry and sector performance after this when you get a chance.
Sure. So, and I think he's talking about from the pre-market report. Is that correct?
Leonard, are you talking about? Yeah, so let's go from the pre-market report. That's fine.
Okay. So let's just do that. You know what? Let me come back to this market cap. Let's take a look at Intel. All right, so I'm going to take a look at Intel, see what happened here. So that's down 10%. And I'm going to get to that similar stock. So let's just take a look. Intel yesterday closed at $53.90. It's trading at $48.42. That's down 10% in the pre-market hours. They reported earnings. This is the pre-market VWAP, $48.73, trading 1.6 million shares in the pre-market hours. Let's take a look historically what this tended to do after earnings. And then I'm going to get to that similar stocks. So here for the historical earnings, we're going to take a look at the last 12 quarters, see how Intel stock reacted to earnings and what kind of ranges did the stock move in. So here, these are the dates of its last reported earnings. These are the price reactions. Heading into earnings, before earnings, it looks like Intel did pretty good on a 2-week basis. We see like starting 2 weeks prior to earnings, on average, it had a 3% return with a 91% success rate, 91% of the days, as you can see here. One down here, it did pretty well. On the earnings front, here on the opening gap, I see 55% of the time it opened higher, 45% lower, for an average loss of negative 1.4%. If we take the average of the absolute returns, just to see how much it tended to move in either direction, on average, it moved 5.8% in either direction, with a high move of 13.8%, which is, let's see here, that's the last quarter. So we see here, July 23rd, it did something similar than what it's doing today. It opened down 13.8%. And by the end of the day, it was down a full 16.2%. So I'm just hovering over here just to see where it closed at. And it looked like previous earnings, the stock was $60. After reporting earnings, it dropped to about $50. So close to, now it's a little bit below that. From the open to the high and to the low, so we'll take a look at, what type of range it trades intraday. So from the open to the high, on average, it gained 2.3%. From the open to the low of the day, on average, it lost 2.1%. From the open to the close, it looks like it drifted higher a little bit more often than lower, 55% higher, 45% lower, for an average gain of 0.4%. If we look at just the volatility perspective from the open, how much did it move on average from the open to the close of the day in either direction? It's about another 2.7% move in either direction. So that's its historical price return distribution after reporting earnings. And as you could see here, after earnings, it tended to be weaker coming out of earnings, even up to 2 weeks later. On average, it tended to lose ground from there. Similar stocks, this is so I'm just moving these tabs up here. These are similar stocks where we compare as a group. So this is taking the semiconductor group, and it's looking at a comparison starting out from performance perspective, and then we're going to take a look at the fundamentals. So from performance, here's Intel. Or you know what? Let me just to put Intel up to the top, I'm going to sort by biggest pre-market movers. And why don't I see that here? Where is that Intel? Okay, over here. So, okay, because it's onto the downside. Let me, it's not doing it correctly. Let me do it by, sorry.
No worries. While D's get into that, hey, Jake just showed up. Thanks for showing up, Jake. Listen, for you, I see we got a bunch of new chameleons on. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get alerted when any new videos are put out, mostly by Dimitri. He puts out some great videos on how to use the Chameleon. And a thumbs up is always appreciated.
Yep. Thanks, Will. Okay, so here's how Intel performed on a 6-month basis. It's down 9.2%. If we take the median return of this group, it's up 33.4%. So you see lagging on a 6-month basis. 1-year basis, Intel was up 6.1% compared to the median return in this group of 25.9%. Lagging there. On a 1-month basis, Intel is up 7.9%. That's compared to a median return of 9.9% in this group. So that's really quickly comparing Intel and how it's performing in that semiconductor group. Let's take a look at the fundamentals really quickly. So here's how Intel looks compared to the rest of the group. So on a PE ratio, 9.94 PE compared to the median PE of 30 in that group. So that looks much lower. Price to sales, it's looking about 3 times on a ratio of 2.97 compared to the median 3.65. Let's take a look at price to book. Price to book 2.8 versus median in that group of 3.81. Gross margins, Intel is 57.9% compared to a median of 48.6%. So there, at least it's doing pretty good there, and it's doing pretty good on a valuation basis. But here we go. The growth, 5-year revenue growth, 5.2% compared to 6.7% for the group, and net income was up 12.5% last 5-year average versus the median of 10.2% for this group. So that's how Intel compares here. Of course, they had earnings today. They're probably announcing some future outlook, and this is not taking that into account. So this is prior to today's earnings. So that's really quick. Does that help answer the question? Hopefully.
Leonard, let us know. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yep. So let's take a look at, I'm going to really quickly take a look at a couple new reports that we haven't talked about before getting into earnings, just to try to squeeze them in. And one of them is this insider's trade screener. Now, this is still being tested. So some of these filter, people are not going to have access to this yet. I'm still testing out the data. It's actually been a little bit more cumbersome cleaning this data and parsing it. And some of these filters are there just to help me out. So I'm going to set a couple of these filters where it won't make sense to you, but it makes sense to me, because it's trying to take out the data that we've already kind of cleaned out, and the other data it's kind of putting to the side that we have to take a look at. And I'm going to take a look at, these are insider trades, and I'm going to use this filter from the buy side. So taking a look at where are people, insiders, buying stock in the open market, right? So this isn't stocks that were gifted or a grant or a conversion of some sort, but we're trying to look for stocks that somebody actually went out and actively bought in the market. Let's take a look at, so I'm going to use this buy filter over here. The other thing is, let's take a look at a significant buy. So I'm just going to take a look at the notional terms. It had to be a purchase of $1 million or more in stock. All right. So if they bought 100 shares of a $4 stock, that's not significant enough. Let's take a look at where there's significant buying. And now that we filtered this out, so we got 235 in the last 3 months. So let's take a look. First, let's take a look at the biggest by notional. So I'm going to take this over here. These are all the different column headings, and you could sort by them. So this is the notional one, where here's the stock, this is the company name, this is the person, the name of the person who bought it, if it's an institution, this is their title in the company, this is the actual trade date when it was executed. I'm only filtering it from the buy side, so this will tell you if it's a buy or a sell. This is the trade price, this is the current price, and the difference since they bought it. So we could track what happened to the stock after the purchase. This is the amount of shares, and this is the dollar amount of the purchase price. So it's taking the shares times the price of the stock, and this is what their position was after executing the trade. So if they're buying shares and they've owned shares before, then this number would be higher, right? Because they're adding to positions. If you wanted to go to the filing, you could click on here. These here are just for me. So let's take a look. I'm going to look at this notional and see some of the biggest trades by notional. And here we got, so Berkshire Hathaway popped up on top. It looks like he's been buying Bank of America. So these are different dates. So we see big $203 million worth, $187 million. So that looks like dispersed, but a lot of buying in Bank of America. MGM, that looks like, what's that? That's a casino. So big purchase there on August 7th for a price of $18.89. Stock's trading $22.62. So that's up almost 20% since that trade occurred. And that was a total of $113 million worth of stock. We see Bank of America, a couple more here. TDG, couple, I don't know this stock. Let me just take a look what they do. Aerospace and defense. Couple big purchases there, $36 million worth, $31 million worth. I'm not familiar, with that stock, but that was on September 14th, September 15th. GOOG here, September 4th, about $26 million worth of stock purchase at 10.14, now trading $9.43. So that one is lower since that transaction. AXS Capital Holdings. Let me see what they do. So this is insurance and property and casualty. So here are a cluster of purchases here by Davis Charles. We see here almost $18 million worth on August 4th. Bought him at $40.72. Stock's $47.44. So that's up 16.5% since that transaction. Looks like he bought a couple more after August 4th, $45.64, $45.79. So they're up about 3.9%, 3.6% since those transactions. Bunch of AXS, another one in MGM here, August 6th, purchase $18.37. That's up 23% from the trade date. And here you can see $14.5 million in purchases. AXX, I think we talked about those. Those are up here. So a bunch of more buy orders on sporadic dates. Xerox, that's Carl Icahn. Looks like on August 5th, Carl Icahn bought $11 million worth of Xerox, $16.07. Now it's trading $19.89. So that's up 23.8% since that transaction. So really quickly, I just sorted it by the highest notional dollar terms where people were purchasing, just to take a look what they did and what happened to the stocks since the transaction. I'm going to move on to another report, unless you have any questions, just to squeeze in a couple more different reports. Will.
No, that's great. I mean, I think this is due for a whole webinar when it starts, because there were some questions, but most of them about when is it going to start. Okay. They had questions about how old the data is, how's the data pulled, but this could be done on a webinar.
So the data is just as it's coming in. So these are October 20th. Of course, I have these filters on, right? So if I take off the filters, it'll pop in other ones from yesterday, today, but I am using different filters here up top just to screen out for things of interest. Let's go to the option blocks trade screener. And over here, a lot of people use these option block trade screener. We have other reports up top that you could tab through. I'm going to take a look at the repeat trade screener. So what this screener does is it looks for options that are, big option trades on a particular option, and it looks for a repeat order. So if somebody came in, traded a specific option, and they later on traded it again and potentially again and so forth. So basically shown conviction in a certain type of trade. So we call that the repeat trade screener up here. In addition to that, before I get into some of the screens, we're looking for things that are significant. So, you know, if somebody buys one contract and then comes back and buys one more contract for $4, it's not very significant, you know, $800 worth. So we're looking at, you know, something more significant. And one of the filters we have is that, and this filter here is defaulted to over 50%. And what this is looking at is it's taking the total volume on that option and saying that that total volume had to represent at least 50% or more of the average daily option volume in that stock. So there's repeat orders and it's a significant amount. That's what it's looking for. And of course, in addition to that, you know, here we just going across, you know, this is the name of the company or the symbol of the company. These are the details of the option, the date, call type, strike. This is the average price of the repeat orders. This is the delta of the option, the open interest in that option. So we see the number of times the repeat order occurred. This is the total sum of the options that traded. And this is the total dollar amount of the options that traded. All right, so I'm just gonna scan really quickly just to take a look. Like, you know what, let me set another filter here and look for an option that's 0 to 50 deltas. So basically an at the money or out of the money call option. Here we have BRX. It's looking December 18th call, the 12.5 strike. I'm gonna click on this really quickly and see. So this stock closed at $11.78. It's looking at 12.5 strike. There's 3 repeat orders, total of 1,470 contracts that traded on this call with worth $62,000 in notional. That represents 531% of the average daily option volume. Here I'm just sliding down GE. That one just kind of, this is a longer dated option. So it's looking at January 15th, 2021. The 10 call, on average, those options trade at 16 cents. Total, the delta is 19. There's 58 trades, $1.8 million worth of the, you know, this low priced option traded. So let's just take a look at GE real quick. So that's trading close to $8, $2 out of the money. So the bet is it rises above $10 by January 21st, and it's coming off its 52-week low, at least $5.48 up to $8. You know, we'll see they have earnings coming up October 28th. Let's take a look. I'm gonna sort this really quickly by notional. So GE popped up on top, 1.8 million. Procter & Gamble, December 18th. Looks like the 150 strike call. Let me see where that stock's trading. So that stock's trading $141.45. About, you know, a little bit over $8 out of the money. So it looks like there are two repeat trades coming in there. Total of 9,858 contracts worth $1.4 million worth in notional trading. So one thing also to keep in mind, even when you see these things, it's important to go and look at what the story is and what is the potential catalyst for the move, right? So you don't want to just blindly go in there and you know, you still want to build the story. Do you think that there is a likelihood of something going on there if there's a potential catalyst and so forth? So a lot of people look at these, kind of screen them by biotech stocks because biotechs have, you know, the PDFA coming out, they have some studies coming out, clinical trials, and if there's likelihood that they might get passed, you know, and people are going in there buying. So still you want to develop that story. What would be the catalyst for that move? But this just kind of points out places to look for. If you don't have any questions on this, Will, I'm going to move on to earnings and see what's coming up in the earnings front.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to do a quick screen. I know we only have about 6 minutes left. We got a new user, Super Awesome Cube, and they're asking how would you screen for bull put spreads in high volume stocks?
Okay.
And they're also asking over a moving average. I don't think we have that feature, but if it's available, and I don't know every feature on the Chameleon, they're asking for a 45-day moving average.
Okay. Well, let's take a look. I'll take a look at the bull put spread screener. He said.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to go. It's under here under screeners. You have all these different types of strategies that you could screen for. This is the bull put spread screener right here. And I'm going to try to go through quickly, but here I'm going to set, so up here you have all the filters that you can use. There's a moving average one over here, so you could read about it. There's 20-day moving average, 50-day, 250 days. So if you wanted to look for something that's, you know, crossing bullish or bearish through moving averages, you could use these filters here. But besides that, what you could do is, I'm just going to take a look at the expirations. So the first thing I'm going to filter is by expiration, and it's defaulted to the next monthly. You could change all that. I'm going to set it to any expiration that expires within the next 30 days. So this will go through, look at vertical spreads, and look at all expirations as long as they expire prior to the next 30 days. And we have a thing here, you know, looking for theoretical edge and win rate. So I'm going to take a look here, look for any positive theoretical edge, let's say above 10%, historical winner. I'm not going to get into that. We do, you know, we have a lot of videos on this and we don't have enough time right now. We could set all these filters here and quickly just say, show me the best one by theoretical edge. And what it'll do is it'll show you the best one for each stock. And this is already sorted by market cap. So you're going to get, and you could sort it by any one of these columns, but you're going to get, if you're sorting by market cap, you're going to get the top most liquid ones anyway. And I think you could also, there's probably like a average option volume. You could even set that if you wanted like something that trades like 10,000 contracts or 100,000 contracts or more per day.
Well, let's do 10,000. All right.
All right. I did 100. Yeah, even 100,000. So then you get the most liquid options here. So Apple, it's looking at the October 30th, 118, selling 118 put, buying 115 put for $1.60 credit. There's the theoretical value. So the 61 cents, your theoretical edge, 70%, theoretical win rate, 81%. So there you go. You have your stocks over here: Apple, Microsoft, BABA, and these are the different credit put spreads.
Now they're asking about the tabs up top. You're on the summary now: events, market data, technical. They were looking at technicals. I don't know what you have there.
So the technicals is basically a really quick way of looking at the moving averages, or if it's breaking the 1-day support and resistance, it's showing. So this, if you hover over, it just tells you what the indicator is. So if it's on an uptrend, basically the stock is crossing all the moving averages, and all the moving averages are crossed in a bullish manner, right? So they're all just pointing basically bullish. But you could read about them, you know, just hovering over, and it's a quick explanation of how those moving averages are compared to each other. The 1-day support resistance, like here above resistance, what we're looking at is a standard deviation move, 1-day standard deviation move in the stock. So if it's moving above its one standard deviation move, that's looking at it's breaking its resistance, right? Because you're expecting it to trade within +1 or -1 standard deviation typically. Once it moves outside that range, it's kind of either it's breaking its resistance or breaking its support to the downside. So it's a quick reference what the stock is doing. And here you could just compare. Oops, I just clicked on the sort. How far away the stock is from its 52-week low, and how far the stock is from its 52-week high. And then we have like option order flow sentiment. So these, and you could use, I think under this tab over here, underline ideas, you'll be able to set, set these filters the way you want them.
Perfect. I hope that was helpful. Super awesome, Cube, who's newly joining the Chameleon chat community. D, Jake had a big question. You never want to leave Jake out.
No.
Jake was asking, I guess you were on that last screener, and he was asking, how often is that updated? The big money block trade screener. And by the way, Rod says that option block trade screener is a bomb, is what he says. So.
Okay. Hopefully that means good. But so that's updated constantly throughout the day on the timer. So when we're getting our feeds are, of course, 15-minute delay, right? That's how we are actually receiving it. It's on a 15-minute delay. Once we receive it, it goes into our database. Then we have to process those reports, and then we update it. So there's like a timer, like I think might be like every 5 minutes, we take the next batch of data and update it, and it takes a couple minutes to process all that data. So you'd have to like refresh it, I would say every like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever.
All right. Well, that's perfect. With that, we must end the day. People are already jumping off because they got to get out there and set up their monitors and get ready to go. D, thanks so much. Another great week, and you really brought it today, as always. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great trading day. Have a good weekend. Hope to see you guys on Monday.